A deadly shootout that turned a once peaceful neighborhood of Pinecrest, Miami into an active war zone between 8 FBI agents and 2 serial bank robbers. The Miami Shootout is known to be one of the deadliest shootouts in FBI history, which resulted in the deaths of 2 FBI agents and the fatal wounding of 5 others. As both parties exchanged gunfire, residents of Pinecrest scrambled in fear, many locking themselves in their homes and praying not to become victims of crossfire. The shootout, made April 11, 1986, made an unforgettable day that left the streets of Sunnyland red and completely reshaped the FBI's tactics of handling high-level threats.
Attention all units for information on shots fired with machine guns at 120 Street, 82 Avenue.
They're still shooting.
I hear them out there.
This is the Miami Shootout. In 1969, William Russell Maddox worked as a cook in an officer's kitchen while serving the U.S. Marine Corps. During his time in the military, he was stationed in places such as Hawaii and Okinawa. Maddox was seen as a top candidate who worked hard to protect his country from foreign threats and was a team player. Having no reports of bad behavior or violations of military law, Maddox slowly climbed the ranks and earned the title of sergeant. On July 7, 1972, Maddox was honorably discharged from the U.S. Marine Corps. After being discharged, Maddox felt like he had more to give for his country. So Maddox later enlisted in the U.S. Army and soon served with the military police under the 101st Airborne Division. It was during his time with the military police that he met Michael Lee Platt, a bond destined for a violent demise. Maddox kept on climbing the ranks in the military police unit, starting off as an MP officer and working up to a patrol supervisor. As expected, Maddox showcased qualities of leadership and dedication that made young recruits such as Platt follow his lead with confidence. After faithfully and patriotically performing his duties, Maddox was again honorably discharged from the military police on August 9, 1976. After leaving the military police, Maddox joined a meat cutting school in Toledo, Ohio, where he would later meet his first wife, Patrice Mary. So what did this newfound friendship with Michael have to do with the sinister events that were soon to come? On June 27, 1972, Platt enlisted in the Army and served as an infantryman. Platt fell in love with airborne assaults during basic training and quickly applied to the airborne training program. After the completion of his airborne training, Platt was assigned to serve with the military police unit. During an assignment, Platt and his team were assigned a new squad leader, who was none other than Maddox himself. During their time in the military police unit, Platt and Maddox got acquainted with each other. Both shared similar interests when it came to gun knowledge and politics. As time went on, the relationship between the two became even stronger, eventually becoming like brothers who had each other's back. Platt continued his duties in the military police unit, during which he met his first wife, Regina Leland. After serving the military police with dedication and commitment, Platt was later honorably discharged in 1979. But their dream of a happy life was soon going to come to an end. On December 30th, 1983, things took a grim turn, as Patrice and her co-worker were found dead in the laboratory of a Riverside Methodist hospital. Both victims were found stabbed to death. During an investigation, it was reported that before their deaths, both Patrice and her co-worker were gagged and restrained in order to prevent them from making any noise or sudden movements, eventually having their throats slashed by a knife. The murder of the 2 victims looked less like a random slaughter and more like a planned hit. During the murder investigation, Maddox was questioned about his relationship with his wife and if she had any enemies who wanted to harm her. Maddox told investigators that Platt was having an affair with his wife. The statement made Maddox a primary suspect for his wife's murder. Investigators assumed that Patrice's affair with his friend was motive enough for Maddox to kill her, but no solid evidence was found, due to which no charges were made. After the death of his wife, Maddox fell into a state of deep depression, which negatively impacted his health. After seeing Maddox in such a devastating state, Platt urged Maddox to move with him to Florida. After multiple attempts by Platt, Maddox was finally convinced and tried starting a new life. The duo decided to start a landscaping and tree removal business together, which didn't see much success. It seemed like Maddox wasn't the only one who was going to face tragedy in his family. On Christmas Day of 1984, Platt's wife Regina was found dead in her home. According to reports, Regina shot herself in the mouth with a shotgun. Investigators ruled her death a suicide. Despite the trauma of losing their wives in such violent manners, the duo did not stop from moving on and started a new chapter, as both been married with new women in the upcoming years. The sudden change of attitude and decision to have second wives soon raised several red flags. But back then, the pair had no criminal record or reported public incidents that suggested they had violent tendencies or posed a threat to society. But it seemed like the pair's nefarious desires was soon going to seep out into the world, creating chaos all around them. Right after they settled down with their new wives, it seemed like the facade of being ordinary suburban husbands was soon going to come crashing down. As the two began spending more time with each other than with their own wives, what seemed like best friends hanging out with each other was actually a meetup to plan out armed robberies. What began as a fantasy in their twisted minds started to become a reality. Maddox and Platt began to discuss how to execute armed robberies and what precautions to take while doing them. The two were slowly steering their lives towards an endless cliff of crime and havoc. As the duo had prior military experience, they knew their way around guns and how to strategically eliminate targets without harming anyone. Before going on their crime spree, both Maddox and Platt came up with a plan to acquire a getaway vehicle that they could use and later ditch after their robberies. They picked out a shooting range at a rock pit, which was mostly isolated with only 1 to 2 people practicing in the morning. On October 5, 1985, the pair saw an opportunity to execute their plan at a rock pit in the Everglades. They murdered and stole the car of 25-year-old Emilio Brillo, disposing of his body within the wetlands, making it hard for authorities and even locals to discover Brillo's body. After stealing Brillo's Chevrolet, the duo began scoping out local banks and supermarkets with their armored trucks to initiate an armed robbery. During surveillance, they noted down the truck's delivery schedule and the level of security that they had. On October 10th of the same year, the pair would commit their first armed robbery on a Wells Fargo armored truck. That was a cash delivery for a nearby Winn-Dixie. While the truck was en route, the duo stopped their stolen Chevy in front of the armored vehicle and threatened to shoot the guards if they didn't cooperate. While Platt was threatening the 3 guards with a shotgun, Maddox was in the driver's seat with a handgun. Things escalated quickly as Platt shot one of the guards in the leg, which provoked the other guards to start firing at the pair. In sheer panic, both Platt and Maddox drove away from the firefight and fled the scene unwounded but with no cash in hand, leaving one of the guards, who was shot in the leg, dead on the spot due to severe blood loss. But the crime spree of the duo was just getting started. They used their previously botched armed robbery as a learning lesson, equipping themselves with higher firepower and taking more time to create in-depth plans. On November 8th of the same year, just 2 weeks after their failed armed robbery, the duo decided to rob the Professional Savings Bank in Miami. Before going in guns blazing, the duo decided to stake out the place and wait for the armored truck to deliver the cash to the bank in the morning. After seeing the armored trucks leave the bank, the duo saw an opportunity to initiate their heist before the authorities arrived. The duo was successfully able to steal $41,469 from the bank, leaving no staff members injured during the heist. After a somewhat successful heist, the duo went on a month-long hiatus before resuming their robberies at the beginning of 1986. Platt and Maddox were slowly gaining the attention of local law enforcement as their crimes became more gruesome and devastating for the city of Miami. It seemed as if the pair was becoming addicted to the thrill of breaking the law and mowed down anyone who stood in their way. This became evident on January 10, 1986, as the duo would pull yet another armed robbery on an armored vehicle owned by Brinks. The robbery was executed similarly to the previous one, but this time, Platt and Maddox showed an unnecessary act of cruelty to the guard who was driving the truck. Maddox shot the guard in the back as he was opening the armored car's back door, but that's not all. The duo then proceeded to shoot the guard multiple times while he was on the ground. After committing such abhorrent behavior, they collected $54,000 from the armored car and fled in their getaway car. But while they were driving away from the crime scene, a brave bystander who witnessed the robbery started following the duo's Chevy. From there, he was able to see the duo switching vehicles in a remote area. They were seen getting into a Ford F-150 pickup truck. The two abandoned the stolen Chevrolet as they believed that since it had been used in so many previous robberies, it might be discovered by the police. After switching vehicles, the witness lost sight of the pair and reported what took place to the law enforcement agencies. A good getaway vehicle is key to a successful heist, and with that in mind, the duo realized that their new pickup truck was not a good option for a getaway vehicle. So they went back to the rock pit in the Everglades to find another poor soul from whom they were going to steal their car. On March 12th of the same year, the duo patiently waited for a person at the rock pit who had a car that compared well to their previous Chevrolet. After some time, they spotted their next victim, Jose Collazo, who owned a Chevrolet Monte Carlo. The duo approached Collazo and shot him in the back while he was target practicing. The duo hastily stole Collazo's car keys and drove off in his Monte Carlo, leaving Collazo on the shooting range to die. However, the duo's sloppiness in not confirming a kill led to Collazo surviving his wounds and reporting the incident to law enforcement. After acquiring their new getaway vehicle, Platt and Maddox prepared for their next big heist. They upgraded their arsenal and bought new military-grade weapons that had the power to put down a whole elephant. A week later, on March 19th, the duo carried out a heist at the Barnett Bank branch. Platt carried a compact pump-action shotgun, and Maddox was equipped with a Ruger Mini 14. Platt and Maddox had already executed a heist on this particular bank branch, where they had previously shot the guard on the ground who was driving the Brinks armored car. But after their assault, the pair was only able to steal $8,338 and drive off in the stolen Monte Carlo. The more heists that the duo executed, the more heat they were gaining from local authorities. So much so that the FBI began an investigation on the suspects and triangulated a hot zone where the duo repeatedly committed crimes, along with gathering information from multiple eyewitnesses. With the FBI drawing closer to the scent of the culprits, the crime sprees of Maddox and Platt were soon going to come to a sudden and violent end.
Attention all units, we're behind with a black vehicle, two-door, Florida license, NTJ 891. It's a black Monte Carlo, two males in it. We believe that it's the black Chevy we've been looking for to help us stop it. Hey, we're right behind you, baby. You want to do it? Let's do it.
The crash gave birth to more conflict for the FBI agents, as the patrol cars ran right into the Monte Carlo from two different sides. After initially colliding with the robber's car from the left side, Manazzi took out his service revolver and positioned it on his seat, preparing for a potential shootout. However, the impact of the collision forcefully swung open his door, causing his firearm to fly right out. On the other side, Dove and Gorgon collided headfirst into the back of the robber's vehicle. The collision knocked off Gorgon's glasses, hindering his vision. The FBI's trouble start gave Platt and Maddox an upper hand. As Agent Manazzi was unable to recover his gun, Maddox saw an opportunity to shoot first and wounded the agent in the head with a shotgun blast. All hell broke loose as the duo unleashed chaos upon the FBI agents and mowed down everything in their sights. Agent McNeil arrived just seconds later and took cover alongside Manazzi's car. McNeil shot his weapon at Platt, but was injured when Platt retaliated with gunfire. After taking down Agent McNeil, Platt aimed his rifle at Agent Morales, who was attempting to cross the street and join the altercation. Platt opened fire, severely wounding Morales by shooting his left forearm. Platt moved away from the window and allowed Maddox to take a shot while he reloaded his gun. Maddox, however, could only partially open his door due to the collision's damage, but managed to fire a single round from his shotgun, hitting Gorgon and Doe's vehicle. All hope seemed lost as the duo's firepower was dominating all the agents in the surrounding area, but that did not stop agents like Gorgon and McNeil. Gorgon, even with his hindered vision, was able to land the first shot on Maddox, injuring him on the right forearm. The first shot at Maddox gave McNeil an opportunity to open fire. After firing 6 shots, McNeil was successfully able to hit Maddox in the head and neck, which left him unconscious. After seeing his partner Maddox unconscious, Platt fired back and shot McNeil in the hand, which restricted him from reloading his gun. Platt realized that his getaway car was soon going to become his coffin, so he changed his strategy and tried leaving the vehicle from the passenger side window. Upon seeing Platt exiting the vehicle, Agent Dove opened fire and landed a shot on Platt's right upper arm. But that didn't stop Platt from climbing onto a packed Oldsmobile Cutlass, which blocked the right side of the Monte Carlo. Agent Dove continued firing and shot Platt again, this time on his right thigh and left foot. Even with his wounds, Platt continued pushing forward and continued his rampage by taking cover alongside the passenger side of the Cutlass. The shootout intensified even more as Platt unleashed chaos by firing his Ruger Mini-14 onto the FBI agent, wounding Agent McNeil and 2 others. During the mayhem, one of Platt's bullets hit Agent Dove's pistol, rendering it useless. Gorgon and Dove took cover and tried fixing Dove's pistol, but little did they know that Platt was aggressively advancing onto their position. Before they could even react, Platt sneaked up on both agents from the rear end of their car, shooting Agent Gorgon in the chest and Agent Dove in the head, leaving both agents dead on the spot. Platt entered Gorgon and Dove's car, during which Maddox regained consciousness and joined Platt in the vehicle. Platt made an attempt to start the vehicle, but the duo's dream of escaping was shattered, as Agent Morales took out his .357 Magnum revolver and gradually approached Platt and Maddox. After seeing an opening, Morales opened fire at the culprits. One lethal round struck Maddox near his right eye socket, traveling downward through the facial bones and severing the spinal cord. After successfully putting down Maddox, Morales reached the driver's side door, extended the revolver through the window, and shot Platt in the chest, ending the nightmare once and for all.
Stains remain tonight in the middle of this Kendall Street, the blood from one of Dade County's worst multiple shootings. 2 FBI agents died here this morning, 3 others were wounded while trying to apprehend 2 bank robbery suspects.
There's a gunfight going outside my office window. Shoot guns and machine guns.
The agents and the 2 armed and dangerous robbers exchanged 150 gunshots between them over 5 minutes.
Out of a total of 14 agents, 8 took part in the firefight, leaving 6 who were lethally wounded and 2 of whom died in action. But in order to understand how 8 highly trained FBI agents were dominated by 2 serial robbers, an investigation was initiated by the FBI. During the investigation, they realized that the FBI agents had weaker firearms on hand that lacked the firepower required to stop the robbers. The majority of the agents had revolvers, and only a few carried semi-automatic pistols. This uneven distribution of firepower gave the agents a severe disadvantage during the shootout, as revolvers took more effort to reload. In order to resolve this dilemma, the FBI updated its arsenal and equipped all its agents with semi-automatic pistols, which proved to be more effective during shootouts. The families of both Platt and Maddox were notified about the pair's demise in their year-long crime spree. After hearing the news, many members of the family were shocked. As to them, both individuals were law-abiding, decent citizens who wouldn't even hurt a fly. But some members, like Maddox's second wife, did not grieve for the individuals. After the shooting, some criticized the FBI for sending their officers into the lion's den without even providing them with proper protection. Even though there was prior knowledge about 2 dangerous criminals who frequently used military-grade firearms, only 2 FBI vehicles had shotguns, and none of the agents were equipped with rifles, giving the robbers an obvious advantage. Along with that, only 2 agents wore ballistics vests, which were of the standard light body armor type and intended for protection against handgun rounds, not the .223 Remington round discharged from Platt's Mini-14 rifle. After the demise of both Maddox and Platt, the streets of Miami were once again safe. But it came at the cost of 2 brave FBI agents, Jerry Dove and Benjamin Gorgon, whose brave deeds are still remembered today. From the deep dives into the histories of both Maddox and Platt, we wonder what provoked the individuals to go out on a year-long crime spree, and which one of the 2 was responsible for influencing the other to live a life of crime.